So to format the visual, as you can imagine, you have to select it first. So let's get started with our line chart here. We again go to our format menu, and here we will again just tackle the core options. For example, here in general, you can change the positioning, you can add a description text and so on. Not too exciting, I guess. So let's rather focus onto these options here. The legend, as you can imagine, if I turn it off, you see we still have the colorization for our lines, but the legend up here is gone. I think we need it, so let's keep it right here. If you open this menu, you can also change the position of the legend from top to bottom, for example, or also to the left right here. But I think for us, the top position is not bad. We can add or remove the title of our legend here, so region name. So if we put this away, yeah, I think then this looks nicer. You can also change the name of the legend. Well, in our case, this doesn't help a lot as we just removed the name from it. And you can also change the color. Now, what's the color here? Well, if we change this to blue, for example, you see this is the color of the font, so of the text that we have in our legend. I'll stick to black right here. I think this looks quite nice. In addition to that, we can also change these little dots right here. So these are the so-called markers at the moment. I prefer the line in this case actually, so I think this looks nicer, so you can quickly change this too. And with that, I think our legend looks quite okay up here. As I said before, you can of course customize this completely as you want. Then we have customization options for our X and our Y axis. Generally, you can say whether you want to display the Y axis or the X axis or not. So here we can hide the X axis down here or also the Y axis. This doesn't look too good, so I guess we at least need our X axis here and also the Y, to be honest. I think this looks better. Inside the X axis then, we have a very important option. This is this one here. In case your chart looks different, so in case you don't have all the years down here, then this is related to the way your data, so your X-axis data, is displayed. The default one should be continuous. In case this is not the case, you have the categorical option selected here, well, then your chart looks something like this. This means you have to scroll through the data like this and like that, and this doesn't look good. Therefore, make sure to change the type right here to continuous to have this look of the chart. Besides that, as I said, I will skip some options here. You can also change the start and the end value for the X-axis. For example, at the moment we start at 1940 here, which doesn't look too good as we only have data starting in 1950. Therefore, you could say, I actually just want to have the data from, let's say, 1980 maybe even, up to 2050, like this. As you see, this changes the look of our chart immediately. So with that, you can define starting and ending dates. Again, you have options to change the color here of the X-axis values in terms of the color, the text size, the font family, and so on. The way you display the units is also an interesting option. For us, auto works perfectly, but you can also change this to, for example, thousands here, or to millions or whatever you need. But I guess in our case, the auto option works totally fine. Auto for us, by the way, is actually none. So you can also choose this one if you want to. You can again say if you want to have the title, so the year in this case. Did you see it? So we have the title on and off. I think we don't need it. I guess it's quite clear that this is the year, so we can keep this away. And then you can define whether you want to have grid lines or not. Here you can see this behind the visual. I'm not the biggest fan of these grid lines, therefore I'll keep this off. And now the options don't end. Well, the options for the X-axis do, but we can of course continue with the Y-axis here. Again, I don't want to dive too deep. We saw some options already. You can change the position of the Y-axis though. That's pretty interesting, I guess. So you can put it to the left or to the right. You can also define starting and ending values for this Y-axis, but I guess for us, starting down here is totally fine as we have Oceania with this really little amount of the population here. You can again change colors, text sizes, and so on. So this is all right. And now, I know it's a little thing, but it can be confusing. Now I can't scroll down any further because I'm now inside the Y-axis menu, but here you have another option to scroll. This is a bit confusing. So here you scroll inside this menu, and here you then scroll in the general menu right here. So this can be a bit misleading here, to be honest, but yeah, it is what it is. Let's go down a bit further here though, to the second Y-axis, which is off at the moment because this will become important if we have a combined chart. This will be a bit more advanced and covered towards the end of this module, but let's keep that in mind so we can have multiple Y-axis or two Y-axis to be more precise in our visual. And here we then have the option with the data colors. You know this one already. I don't want to change anything right here. Then you can define whether you want to have data labels or not. So if you turn it on, you see you have the labels for the different population counts in here. Something I don't want to have here, so we will turn this off. If you want to have these, you can, again, of course, change a lot of options here. Just to give you an interesting one here is maybe this show background thing to make it look a bit better. Right here to change the display units, or what might be also interesting if you're coming from Excel, here you can change the position to above, which is the default one actually, or under, right? So you have ways to customize your data right here. So these are data labels, but as I said, I don't want to have these here in our visual. Then I'll skip some options, as I said, because otherwise it will get a bit boring for you, I guess. So the title is an important one, maybe. You can turn it on or off here. I will keep it on. And we can change the text of the title, which we could actually do. So let's say population by region and year, maybe like this. Then we can say if the words should be wrapped. So if we have a longer text here, which should be, well, longer than this place we have. So if you want to have a wrap or not, we don't need a wrap, so this is okay. We can change the font color, and I will change it to white actually. Why? Because our background color will then be black, like this. As I said, this is totally subjective, so if you like this look or not, I like it, so let's stick to this one. Then we can change the alignment, for example, to center, like this, which I also like, to be honest. We can increase the text size a bit, maybe, to make it a bit clearer what this chart is all about. And you can also change the font family. Here you have plenty of options. I'll just stick to the default one here. Again, something totally subjective. Then we have the background option, so if you want to have a background or not. At the moment we have a background, so if I unselect this, you see we have this, well, transparent option. We have a white background at the moment. So if we go into this menu, you can change this background color as you know it already from the other options. You can also change the transparency, of course, to make it a bit more transparent, maybe like this 70%, maybe even less, let's say 7%. Yeah, I think this looks cool. As I said, totally depends on the style you want to have. And then we are finally arriving at the end of the options. As I said, we can continue this for an hour, I guess, but I just want to find the right balance between guiding you through these options and, well, not showing everything. Because actually, if you understood the core concept of this formatting idea, and I hope you did this with this lecture, then it's really great to dive deeper here and to really tailor your visuals specifically according to your needs. However, we are almost done. I guess there is one interesting option right here, and that's this border option. If you activate it, you can hardly see it, but if we go to the color now and change it to white, and then increase the radius of the border, you see we have a border around our visual. And I think this is a quite nice look, so I like this one. So let's add this little border right here. Whew. And with that, we had a look at a lot of formatting options now in Power BI Desktop. There are two problems we have though at the moment. The first problem is that our visual right here now looks a lot different from the right one. And we could of course now go to the right visual and try to find the right balance to apply the same settings to this one. This would be one option, but there is an integrated feature to quickly copy the format from one visual to the other one. And this option is the so-called Format Painter. So if you select the current visual, go to the Home ribbon and here the Format Painter, and then select the other visual, then our changes are applied to the other visual. This kind of destroyed our conditional formatting though, but I guess we can live with this at the moment. With that, we know how we can apply the look from one visual to the other, but we have the issue that our report here doesn't look really good, right? Because we now have this nice looking page, but the other pages, well, have a different look. So this brings us to another topic here in the visual part, and these are report themes.